Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Dr. Umair Abubakar, and today we'll have a short case preparatory session, and I'll teach you how to present your short cases. Moving forwards, talking about the overview of short cases, you'll have a total of four short cases. There will be no break between each case, and you will have exactly 10 minutes for each station. 5 minutes will be for your examination and narration, and 5 minutes for cross questioning and viva examination. So there are going to be two examiners. One examiner is going to assess your examination and how you present yourself, and the second examiner is going to ask you specifically three questions regarding any problem. Question number one will be about what is your diagnosis or your differential diagnosis. Question number two will be any further investigation that is required in this case, and they'll have the investigations ready in their hand. Supposedly, if you ask that I require a radiograph, they'll have a radiograph present over there. So, and they'll put up on a view box, and you would be asked to tell the details about that imaging modality, or an if you require an nerve conduction study, or if an MRI is required, they'll have those investigations present. So you should be prepared for that table viva also. It is just like talks, but a bit different, as you have examined the patient, and you will be focusing on your positive findings on the examination that you want to see on the radiographs or the MRIs. And similarly, moving onwards, they'll ask you about the treatment options available and what treatment are you going to give to this specific patient. So be very clear about what treatment you choose for that patient, because further viva will progress on your treatment. If you choose a different, if you any treatment you choose should have a valid reason why you are choosing it. It The examiner might differ with you. The examiner might have chosen a different treatment, but if you are able to defend your treatment with valid options, that treatment is considered okay, because we have various orthopedic problems have more than one treatment options, and all of them are valid, provided you all of you have the points to back up your diagnosis and treatment option. So, and to be very specific, there is no break or restation between these four short cases. Actually, the time given to you is around 8 to 8.5 minutes, because a lot of time is wasted when you move from one station to another. You obviously have to pack your bags and then move on to the next station, and then the major part of this 10 minutes is lost, because they want proper exposure. You want proper exposure before examination, and exposure requires time, specifically if this is the if that is your first short case. If people have done short cases before you, then the patient might be exposed, so you'll save time over that. So this is once you give one short case and move to another short case, forget what happened on that station and give the next short case your 100%. I've seen a lot of people failing in the exam just because they are unable to get over what happened in the last case, and they bring that tension forward in the next station. uh, this is not acceptable. The only reason you're going to fail in the exam in short cases is if you have a bad station and then you keep that tempo in the other stations. A lot of people do that, so don't take any tension. One short case station, if it does not go well, it does not absolutely mean that you are going to fail that examination. There is a leverage that you are given if you pass your talks and your long cases pass. So if one or two short case stations are not up to the mark, they most commonly pass you in the examination. So be very clear, be very confident, and manage the time accordingly. So take home message for today is to manage your time. In the given 5 minutes, you have to complete your examination. Most of the people do unnecessary tests that are not required for that short case, and they waste time. A lot of time is wasted on inspection. You keep on narrating what is normal, and you are not required to do that. You just have to pick up the positive findings and move forward. That saves time, and you are able to reach a diagnosis. To reach a diagnosis is very important in short cases, because if your examination is not complete, you will not be able to reach a diagnosis. And furthermore, you will not be able to answer in the cross questioning and the viva section, because you don't have a diagnosis. So most people who fail in the short case are fail due to they don't complete the examination in the given time. Moving forwards, so the key concepts that are going to be tested in all the short cases, I already told you before what are the things that you have to take in your bag during the short case examination. So the key concept most likely you are going to get a foot and ankle case. There are a lot of options which you can get. There are a lot of diagnoses or cases you can get in foot and ankle. You should be prepared to answer each and every one of them. You can get a 3 or 4 year old child, even with a resistant clubfoot, or a CP child with a clubfoot deformity. And you should have all the measures, because if a child cries during examination, you are going to fail. So you should have a different scheme for a pediatric foot examination. That is entirely different. You only touch the patient at the last. Rest of the examination is done without touching the patient. And if you want to see any movement at the foot, you ask the mother or father of that child to do the specific movement of that child, or rotate the child so that you can see the back, etc. You only touch at the last. Keep a toy or a chocolate ready in your bag, so that you can give that child, just to gain the confidence of the child. Moving on to the knee examination. Recently, in the past few years, ACL injuries, because they're very common injuries nowadays, and a lot of people put ACL injuries or meniscal injuries in the knee examination short cases. So when you get a case of ACL injury, or a ligamentous injury to the knee joint, or a meniscal injury, try to complete that examination within time. Because you can get a long case also and a short case of ACL injury. The specific knee examination is same in both the long and the short case. It is a bit long as compared to other cases, just like the examination of genu valgum is a bit long. Most people are unable to complete it within the 5 minute time. So try to rehearse your schemes repeatedly, so that you are able to complete these examinations within the required time. Second is the injuries around the elbow joint, or the cubitus deformities around the elbow joint. They are also very common and frequently tested topics. Nerve injuries in the upper limb, the radial nerve injury is very common. Then the median nerve and the ulnar nerve, all of them are common, and you should be able to identify what is in nerve injuries. Your viva rotates around two questions: what is lost, and how are you going to replace it? So what function is lost, and how are you going to replace it? uh, Tighter your scheme of nerve injuries examination according to these two questions. Same goes for the brachial plexus injuries. In brachial plexus injuries, you're specifically asked what is lost, and how are you going to replace that function or what muscle power is lost and how are you going to replace that function. So your options, if there is less time passed and there is signs of regeneration of nerve, so your option is going to be wait and see. And if there are no signs of regeneration, obviously you're going to move on forwards to the tendon transfers. So moving on to tendon transfers, they require from a candidate that he or she should be able to answer each and every step of tendon transfer. What are the incisions, how you transfer a tendon, what are the tendons that can be transferred to each and specific location. Swelling around the knee joint are very common and very tricky. Okay, so swelling around the knee joint are very common injuries and they're very tricky questions, because a small swelling around the knee can easily be missed. Be ready or be cautious about what command is given to you by the examiner. If the examiner says examine the right thigh of the patient, so the examiner is giving you a hint that nothing is wrong in the knee joint. Examine the thigh, you might pick up a osteochondroma or exostosis at the posteromedial aspect of the thigh. So be wary what the examiner says. Sometimes the examiner says examine both the upper limbs of the patient or examine both the lower limbs of the patient. So you should not just focus on around what is the examination, specifically focus on the command of the examiner, because there is a reason why the examiner is asking you to examine both the upper limbs. Obviously he wants you to pick a abnormality that is going to be corrected in relation to that opposite limb. uh, just like if you're talking about the genu varum or the cubitus valgus or genu valgum deformities, the up till what angle are you going to correct will depend upon what angle the other limb is in. You're going to correct it to that angle. So when measuring the deformities, always put the goniometer on the opposite limb also, because when he's going to ask you what degrees are you going to correct, or what is how much centimeter of the osteotomy you are going to do, it will depend upon the other limb, the normal limb, how much valgus that limb has, so that you can correct it up to that level. Moving forwards to the congenital anomalies section, most likely you'll get a clubfoot patient. It may be a child or an adult, so be prepared for that. Along with that, you can also get spangle deformity and radial club hand, and also pseudarthrosis of tibia. These are the commonly tested cases. So you should have a good preparation about the viva, because all of them have different treatments, and each and every treatment option is valid, but is to be titrated according to the patient needs. Moving forwards, so now I'll tell you how journal examination scheme that you are going to make is going to be. There is a small mnemonic I have made, which is known as ICE. ICE means introduction, consent, and exposure. So first 20 seconds, the first thing that you're going to rehearse or prepare in your scheme is you'll put a timer of 20 seconds and complete the introduction, consent, and exposure in the 20-second section. If you're unable to do this, your rest of the examination is going to lag behind, and obviously you won't be able to do the special test at the end of the examination, and these people fail because they don't complete the examination. So introduction, uh, you have to introduce yourself. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. XYZ, and I am from the orthopedic department. I am going to ask the name of the patient. It's very important. People don't ask the name of the patient. Ask the name of the patient, so that the next question you ask the patient is by addressing with the name of the patient. It gains confidence, rather than just asking just describing as a patient as a thing. You ask with a proper noun. Then you take consent for the examination, and the very important aspect is exposure. When exposing the patient, always ask the examiner or tell the examiner, ideal exposure is up till this. I want to expose up till here. The examiner is going to tell you it's okay, you can expose mid thighs. Ideally, you should have exposure from the umbilicus downwards for the lower limb and umbilicus upwards for the upper limb. But in the exam setting, it is not possible. So you can ask, you can tell the examiner, I want exposure up till here. The examiner is going to say it's okay, expose up to the mid thighs or take the shirt off of the patient as required. And always expose the opposite limb, because the limb that is abnormal is going to be abnormal only because the other limb is normal. You cannot compare unless you have exposed both the limbs, and this is the commonest mistake every candidate makes in the exam. When you are given the command, examine the right foot of the patient, you just expose the right foot, you don't even look at the left foot. Always expose both the feet. The wasting can only be picked if you have exposed both the limbs. Otherwise, you are unable to pick the wasting. So 20 seconds for introduction, consent, and exposure. Moving forward, once you have rehearsed these 20 seconds, then you will only move forward. So first step today is to complete your 20-second examination. That is introduction, consent, and exposure. Moving forwards to the inspection. So inspection is that part of the examination in which you look the patient from the front, from the sides, from the back, and from the other side, and then ask the patient to walk away from you and then come towards you. Then ask the patient to sit and then stand back again. And in the upper limb cases, you will ask the patient to, of course, spread his or her arms so that you can inspect the axilla. Most people forget during inspection. The things that they forget is axilla in the upper limbs and the soles in the lower limbs. And axilla is 50% of shoulder inspection. Same goes with the soles. 50% of foot examination is sole examination, because if there is an ulcer on the sole and you give a treatment option that requires internal fixation, the examiner is going to fail you. And if you miss that ulcer specifically. So, and never forget the spine in congenital anomalies, specifically talking about the foot anomalies. Always remember to see the spine of the patient. Inspection as a whole, when you are preparing your scheme, will take 40 seconds. After that, you should be able to tighten the inspection to less than 20 seconds. This is the total time. So 20 seconds for this introduction, consent, and exposure, and 25 to 30 seconds for the inspection. So in less than 1 minute, you should be able to complete your introduction, consent, exposure, and then inspection. This is very important. The key to passing short cases is that you are able to complete your inspection in the first 1 minute of the examination. Otherwise, you are bound to fail. So moving forwards to palpation or feel and movement. The key to success is that you should be able to complete all your examination. And I'm talking about all examination, except the special tests that are required for that particular disease in less than 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Because then you will be able to have around 2 minutes for your special tests. The first part of the examination is general examination, and the second part is special test. So complete your general examination in 2 or 2 minutes 10 seconds, so that you have around the same amount of time for your special test. Most people spend a lot of time on inspection, and their inspection completes in more than 2 minutes. If your inspection completes in more than 2 minutes, you will not be able to perform the special test, because you will not have the required amount of time. And if you are unable to complete your examination, as I have already told you, they are not going to pass you. So be very clear about what the command of the examiner is. Only palpate the region given in the examiner's command. Don't move above or below. Some people say move, joint above and joint below are important. They are only important if your treatment is changed by their by the movement of the by examining those joints. If your treatment is not changed, then don't examine those joints and move forwards. And all most of you make a mistake that you keep on telling this is normal, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. This is only wasting time. Only tell what are the positive findings on your inspection. If you see a gastrosoleus complex wasting, tell there is gastrosoleus complex wasting over the right side, and move forwards. Don't waste your time saying that gastrocnemius muscle mass is comparable, hamstring muscle mass is comparable, quadriceps muscle mass is comparable. Only tell that is not comparable. And after palpation, once you have palpated, and palpation is very, very important when you are examining the around the knee and around the elbow. The diagnosis of elbow and knee lies in palpation. So be very good in palpating the elbows and the knee joints. After palpation, check the distal vascular and lymph nodes along with sensation and reflexes. Make a habit. So I made a habit like this. If you're examining the knee joint, I have to do one thing above the knee, and that is I have to check for the inguinal lymph nodes. And I have to do one thing below the knee, that is I have to check the distal vascular status. Same goes with the elbow joint. So you have to check for the axillary lymph node or lymph node enlargement above the joint. And one thing below is you have to check for the vascular status along with the sensations and the reflexes. So moving forwards, then you have to check for the range of motion, both active, or first check for the passive range of motion and then the active if required. Otherwise, you can skip for the range of motion step, because some of the joints, the range of motion can easily be tested when you have asked the patient to move away from the walk away from you, come back, sit and stand. uh, Most range of motions can be assessed over that time, and you can tell the examiner, I have asked the patient to sit and stand and he has no problem in sitting and standing. So the range of motion is comparable on both sides at the knee joint. And now moving on to the power of the muscles. If required, you'll assess the power of the muscles, specifically when talking about uh, the nerve injuries. So all this examination should finish under 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The crux of this presentation is that after this presentation, you'll go to your colleagues and you'll put a timer of 2 minutes and 10 seconds and complete the introduction, consent, exposure, the palpation, and the movement. After this examination, only the special tests are going to be left. So the rest of the time left you will spend on doing the special tests for that specific disease and other special tests to rule out differentials. So it is very important to rule out the differential diagnosis. Once you rule in a disease, you are going to rule out its differentials on your examination. In during all of the examination, keep contact with the examiner in whole of the examination, and keep talking to the examiner. The best way of starting a conversation with the examiner is when you just are at the exposure point. You ask the examiner, sir, I want to expose up till here, is it okay? The examiner is going to say it's okay, or you can just expose up till here. So that is the breaking point, or by breaking point I mean uh, you can start that is a conversation starter, and it builds confidence. You have the focus of the examiner. The examiner knows what you're doing, and so that you and the examiner move both forwards in the same direction. You should only narrate only the positive findings of your special tests. If other tests are some tests you need to compare from the opposite side, obviously so that you can tell if the test is positive or negative. And some tests do not require comparison to the opposite side. I have seen a lot of people doing anterior draw test and comparing it to the opposite side. Why do you want to compare to the opposite side? Either the anterior draw test as a hard endpoint or a soft endpoint that is going to tell you if there ACL, if there is an ACL injury or not. You don't need to compare. So some tests you need to compare, others you do not. You should be very cautious about doing, because a lot of time is wasted when you compare to the opposite side. So moving forwards, words not to be used in narration. These mistakes are made by a lot of candidates. Never say normal, not me or you. No one is normal. Everyone is comparable. So instead of normal, use the word comparable. Never say slightly or probably. No one is slightly pregnant. Either you are pregnant or not pregnant. So be very confident. These are the words, maybe, most likely. These are the words that make you less confident and give an impression to the examiner that you are not sure what you are going to say. Don't do frequent who is, and the only way you are able to overcome these mistakes are by repeated practices on the patients and your colleagues. Never forget. So these are the things all of you forget. So I just made a list so that you can review this presentation time and again and refresh your knowledge that never forget these. SOLE is 50% of photo examination, I've already told you. And if you forget the SOLE examination, you're going to fail in the exam. Same goes for the axilla, is 50% of shoulder examination. Never forget an axilla examination. Diagnosis of foot is in the spine. Sometimes you see a club foot and you tell the examiner, my diagnosis is a congenital talipes equinovarus deformity. The examiners will tell you, this is not a diagnosis, this is a deformity. Tell me a diagnosis. So you may miss some myelomeningocele over the spine. The diagnosis will be myelomeningocele, not congenital talipes equinovarus. Same goes with the cerebral palsy. So knee and elbow diagnosis is on palpation. Power is not to be compared. I've seen a lot of people, they are so mixed up or confused that they start comparing power. Power is graded, not compared. And a lot of time is wasted when you do power on one limb and then compare it to the opposite side. Always grade the power. There are 5 grades of power, you all know, and you should tell the examiner the cordyceps is power is 0/5 or 5/5, like this, not by the power of cordyceps is comparable to the opposite side. No. Moving on to deformity correction is according to the other limb. So always put a gonio on the other limb also. Beaten score with genu varus or valgus and cubitus varus and valgus deformity. You must rule out hyperlaxicity syndrome, and this goes with recurrent shoulder dislocations as well. Nerves with deformities. And never forget, during your examination, if a test comes in your mind, do it at that time, otherwise you will forget it later on. So if you are examining a deformity patient, and you want to put a goniometer, just do it at that time. You can put a goniometer during your inspection as well, because you're not touching the patient. You just put a goniometer and examine and move forwards. Otherwise, when you are doing your special test, sometimes you miss putting a goniometer, and you're going to fail if you don't put a goniometer in a cubitus valgus or genu valgum deformity. Expose the other limb as well. Very common mistakes. A lot of you don't expose the other limb. Never cause pain, because if a child cries during your examination, the examiner is not going to pass you. A lot of people miss Tinel sign in nerve injuries. Now this is the only sign that is going to dictate your treatment. If the Tinel is positive, obviously you are not going to go for tendon transfers, you are going to wait. And if you have not done a Tinel test, you are unable to you are unable to tell the examiner that is this injury is this injury recovering or not? And the examiner is going to ask you this: have you done the tunnel or not? So a lot of people miss it. So when you see a nerve, just tap your finger on it. This is the key of not forgetting tunnel test. A lot of people do. So if you see a deformity, put a gonio right away, otherwise you will forget later on. This is what I have already told you. So these are the this is the list is not complete, but these are the things that a lot of people uh, do in the examination. These are the mistakes that a lot of you make in the examination. So I just wanted to be very sure that nobody makes this mistake again. So thank you everyone for quietly listening this time. And now we'll have a non-recording session. So I'll put up some cases. I've about one or two cases, and then I'll ask a lot some of you to do short case examination, a mock examination, and then we'll discuss what are the things that are to be done and not to be done, and what are the things that how to complete your examination, and what are the things that can be missed, and what are the things that cannot be mixed. So thank you very much, everyone. And I'll just end this session and we'll start another non-recorded session. So you can unlog and log in again. Thank you very much for listening. Allah Hafiz.